Before my wedding, my vision which I lost after saving Bruce unexpectedly returned. Overjoyed, I hurried to share the wonderful news with him, but as I stepped into the living room, I froze. Bruce and my cousin, Kerry, were in a passionate embrace. Bruce, the baby is perfectly healthy now. The doctor said we can sleep together again. Why don't we do it right here in the living room? Also, isn't it thrilling to do it here while Nancy is asleep in her room? Shut up, don't joke about my wife like that. Bruce snapped at her, but his reprimand was accompanied by a kiss. I stood there, watching in shock as their movements grew more intense and their breathing became heavier. Only then did I piece it all together. Their sudden shared enthusiasm for indoor workouts 6 months ago wasn't about fitness at all. Covering my mouth to stifle a sob, I turned back to my room and shut the door. I decided then and there, Bruce didn't need to know I had recovered. Reaching for my phone, I dialed my mother. Mom, I'm not marrying Bruce anymore. I'll marry the Comatose Heir of the Blakes instead. I don't need Bruce in my life. As the grunts and moans outside the room gradually stopped, Bruce said from outside, Nancy, something came up at the office. I'll have to make a trip there. My cousin, Kerry, also told me she was heading out to get some bread to make me a sandwich. Hearing no response from me, they thought I was asleep. They left together, hand in hand. I secretly followed them and noticed that they were headed to Bruce's parents' place nearby. As the front door opened, Bruce's siblings stood by the door with gifts in their hands. Happy pregnancy, Kerry. Congratulations, Bruce. You're going to be a father. I covered my mouth in shock. I tried not to make a sound while tears streamed down my face. Bruce's mother also went to the front door to welcome Kerry inside, holding her by the arm. It's good that you're having Bruce's child. I was really worried that my grandchildren would inherit that blind woman's genes. The Wills will finally have healthy grandchildren. Yeah, if it weren't for Bruce's kindness, no one in Kent City would want to marry that blind Nancy. Just because her family is wealthy, she acts all high and mighty. Kerry is so much better than her. Bruce's gaze turned a little icy. Don't ever say that. Nancy lost her sight because of me. Everyone ignored Bruce and continued to discuss what to name the child. I was so heartbroken that I could barely breathe. I ran back home. Tears streamed down my face without control. Bruce's siblings had always been kind and nice to me. I never knew they were such two-faced people. Not long after, my mother called. Nancy, the Blakes have agreed to the marriage. The engagement ceremony will be held 3 days later. Darling, no matter what, I will always support you. Bruce isn't treating you right. Let's swap him off, shall we? MH, okay. I replied with a catch in my throat. At midnight, Bruce woke me up and handed me a glass of milk to drink. This had been his routine every day. I reached out my hand when he suddenly grabbed it. Nancy, why is your hand injured? Did you go out today? It's all my fault for not protecting you. Don't worry. Once we get married, I'll always be by your side. When he saw my body trembling, he held me by the shoulder in reassurance. He placed the glass of milk in my mouth. Good girl. Drink up and head back to bed. Bruce had told me more than once about how me drinking milk obediently would give him a sense of a happy home. Even if I never liked to, I would do it for him. This time, the moment he left, I spat the milk out. A while later, Kerry, who was at the door, asked, is she asleep? Bruce wordlessly lifted her in his arms, causing the abashed Kerry to hit his chest. What if she hasn't fallen asleep? Be patient. Don't worry. The drug is powerful. Even if she's not asleep, she'll think she's dreaming. I finally understood. His concerns and the so-called happy feelings he got from me drinking milk were just a cruel cover for such disgusting things. Kerry's breath started to get shorter. The Blake's vegetable son is going to get engaged. They invited me to attend the engagement ceremony. How comical. Who on earth would think of marrying a vegetable? Bruce picked up the pace. You're being short-sighted. Being Mrs. Blake is worth millions. I wonder who got lucky. Are you going to take me along to the engagement ceremony? Dream on. The guests are wealthy and influential. You wouldn't fit in. I can only bring your cousin with me. Kerry turned away, stopping Bruce from kissing her. She said, don't you find it embarrassing to bring a blind woman there? This is a good chance for you to get connected to the wealthy. She'll only drag you down. Besides, I heard that the woman marrying into the Blakes is from Mapletown. I'm from Mapletown too. Maybe I can help connect the two of you. Bruce gave it a thought. What Kerry said made sense to him. He eventually nodded. Alright, I'll take you with me. When Bruce let out his last grunt of pleasure, he looked up and met with my gaze in the room. I immediately closed my eyes. Bruce jumped in fright. I closed the door before I came out. Why is it open? Why does it matter? She's dead asleep anyway. Ignore her. Come and be with me. Soon, I heard their bodies smashing against each other. It was only in the early morning when they finally quieted down. I did not sleep the entire night. My pillow was soaked with tears. How dare you humiliate me like this all this while? Bruce, fine. I'll no longer show you mercy. When I heard the two of them woke up, I got out of bed. By the door, I tripped against something. While I pretended not to know what it was, trying to bend to touch it, Bruce immediately got up from the couch and ran to my side. Nancy, are you okay? Why didn't you call me? Kerry said with a hint of jealousy. She just tripped. It's not like she. Shut up. You left this here. Bruce cast Kerry a sharp gaze, and Kerry reluctantly shut up. The thing that tripped me was none other than Kerry's bra that Bruce had taken off the night before. Bruce was worried that I would be able to recognize it by touching it, so he picked me up and placed me right in front of the dining table. Then, he carefully fed me breakfast. His behavior disgusted me, but I forced myself to play along. Bruce, did the Blakes send the invitation for the engagement ceremony? Why you want to go? Bruce was a little surprised. He added, Nancy, our wedding is in 5 days. Could you be a good girl and stay at home? I don't want you to get injured again. You'll have to be my most gorgeous bride. His eyes gleamed with detest and resentment when he said that. The juxtaposition of it all sent a chill running down my back. He was the one who started caring for me. I lowered my head and continued eating. I wonder who'd be marrying into the Blakes? I asked, sounding curious. No matter who it is, anyone who becomes Mrs. Blake would no longer need to work for the rest of their lives. How lucky. Say, if I were to marry into the Blake family, they'd be able to treat my blindness, right? Haha. Aaron Blake is a vegetable. I doubt he'd want to marry a blind woman. Bruce immediately realized that he had misspoken. He immediately apologized. I'm sorry, Nancy. I'll continue finding you a doctor. It seemed that was what he truly thought of me all this time. After he left, Kerry approached me. Kerry wore my clothes. clothes, and my jewelry. From a distance, she did look quite like me. After all, our mothers were sisters. She looked at me condescendingly, her eyes gleaming with jealousy and resentment. Nancy, you've been so nice to me. You've given me money, gifts, and even a place to stay. Can I just ask for one more thing? What do you want? Bruce, do you know I'm pregnant with his child? And he's so very eager for the child to arrive. We'll be a happy family of 3. I'm sure you won't fit into the picture, right? Besides, did you know the humiliation he has suffered all these years because of your blindness? If you really love him, you'll give him to me. Let him have the right to properly tell others that he has a healthy wife, instead of a blind wife who he has to keep at home. I threw a plate on the dining table at her. She angrily grabbed me by the chin. So, what if you're pretty? So what if your family is wealthier than mine? Bruce still chose me to attend events with him. If you're more obedient, Bruce, and I will treat you better. After all, if it weren't for you rescuing me from Mapletown, I would have died a long time ago. I'll always remember this kindness. Then, Kerry turned and started off. All she could think of was how she would soon assume my position, without realizing a burning glare on her back. 3 days later, when my mother came over to hand me the gown, she noticed I had my eyesight back. She was overjoyed. We were just by the entrance of the engagement ceremony venue when she was called away. I entered on my own. I never expected that Bruce and Kerry were already there, holding hands like a couple. Kerry touched her abdomen from time to time. When people realized that she was pregnant, she smiled shyly. When I entered, someone hinted at Bruce. He turned around to see me with a frown. Bruce's friends surrounded us and sized me up patronizingly. I knew all of them. When I had my eyesight in the past, they would always come looking for me, persuading me to get my father to give them a business deal. When I got with Bruce, they started currying favors with Bruce. Nancy, I thought you always knew better than this. I told you not to come. Why are you here? Said Bruce impatiently. I looked at Kerry, who rolled her eyes at me. Why are you here? I snapped. Bruce and Kerry were mortified when they realized what happened. Bruce was first to come to his senses. Nancy, you have your eyesight back. That's amazing. You can finally be my gorgeous bride. Kerry's glare vanished, replaced by a pleasantly surprised look. Nancy, that's amazing. You're finally back to normal. I've been worried for you for the past few years. She wiped away her non-existent tears. She opened her arms, trying to hug me. I avoided her hug, and she fell to the floor. Ah, Bruce, help me. Bruce worriedly helped her up. He looked at me grimly. Nancy, apologize to Kerry. She's been caring for you all these years. Now that you've healed, how could you be so arrogant? I retorted. Has she been taking care of me, or taking care of you? They looked horrified at my response. Tears welled up in Kerry's eyes. Nancy, I know the blindness has made you paranoid, but Kerry tried to get up by tugging on my clothes. When I shrugged her off, she fell once more. She clutched her abdomen and cried. Bruce could no longer hide his concern. He grabbed my arm and started dragging me out. Nancy, we're at the Blake's engagement ceremony. This is not a place for you two. Right at this moment, the light suddenly went off. A single spotlight shone on an elegant man standing at the entrance. It was the eldest heir of the Blakes, Aaron Blake. Everyone was stunned. No one expected a comatose person would suddenly wake up. Aaron walked through the crowd and met with my eyes. He smiled. Come here, my darling fiancé. I shrugged Bruce off me, but he held on to me tightly. Nancy, if you're going to go on this way, don't blame my family for calling off the marriage. Kerry added, Nancy, Aaron has a fiancé. Even if you want to curry favor with him, this isn't the time. Bruce and Kerry looked at each other. They stood on each side of me and tried to pull me away. Who dares to lay a finger on my fiancé? Aaron bellowed.